Hey guys, Christine here. You may have seen some of my posts. Like most of you, I'm very frustrated with the state of conservative politics in the state of Minnesota. But for me, that has all changed. For the first time in a long time, I'm very excited about how we're finally going to win and take back our state. We all ask ourselves, what can I do to drive change? My answer is that I've joined Sidecar. I encourage you to watch this really cool video and then consider joining for yourself. I'm here with one of the founders of Sidecar, Michael Rush. Michael, tell us what's in the video.
Well, let me start with our slogan, right? Our slogan is, don't get angry, don't get frustrated, get a plan. So the first thing everybody's going to see in the video is what is our plan to actually take back Minnesota. Now, the beauty of it is anybody who's watching this is just going to start nodding their head going, yes, those are the things we need to do. We just need someone to do them. That's Sidecar. So the first thing they're going to see is the plan. The second thing is they're going to have a chance to get to know us a little bit. You know, there's a lot of people involved with Sidecar. There's only a handful of us in the video, but they'll get a chance to see how we think, how we process through information. It's like an interview. Are we legitimate? They'll get a chance to scope us out. So those are really the two key things they're going to get in the video. And we hope when they get to the end, they'll like what they've seen.
Sounds great. So in the video, you guys talk a lot about conservatives aggregating together. In practical terms, what does that mean?
Well, first of all, aggregation is the key to the whole thing, right? It is us coming together and creating one force that we can direct into the market. So aggregation is everything. In practical terms, how do you do it? It's as simple as 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, the most important, go down to the description section in the YouTube panel below. You'll see our URL, sidecar.com. Click there. It'll take you right to the website. Follow and join. We need everybody to join. And I want to point out, if you're watching this video, we need you. Because there's nobody coming, there's no big donors, there's no corporate donors, there's no outside consultants, there's nobody, there's us, okay? Second thing you do is you amplify the message, and you do that by going down and liking the video on YouTube, by joining our YouTube channel, and finally, by sharing this video and any content that you find on our website or around our website. Go share that with everybody that you are connected with throughout social media. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how you aggregate.
So now let's watch the video. And for the first time in a long time, let's be optimistic.
Deplorables. It's Chris. It's been a long time since I've seen you. I'm asking you all to watch this today because wherever you live, we live in Minnesota, most of us, it's a disaster right now. We continue to lose elections. We have weak leadership, essentially, in a dysfunctional party. Bless these people, but they're not winning. I'm going to introduce two gentlemen momentarily who have created something called Sidecar. It's tremendous, and they'll be explaining it, but Sidecar is going to become the muscular arm of the conservative movement. The left has Act Blue. We don't have anything. We do now. I'm so excited about this and about winning. I want to introduce you to these two gentlemen. The creators of Sidecar with us here today. Let's start with Michael. Michael and I have been friends for 30 years. He first introduced me when he hired me for a company which was a startup, which he took from zero to $150 million in 18 months. His background prior to NordicTrack, where I met him, was PepsiCo, General Mills, and General Foods. So a strong pedigree as a businessman. Several others, not just the 0 to 150 I talked about, other companies he's built. My point is, he knows how to win. He's done this throughout his career. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Paul Jackson. Paul has an extensive amount of experience in the political realm. Well, first he was a lobbyist for the airline industry in Washington, D.C. Then he worked on national campaign for President Trump in 2020. Prior to that, he worked for Marco Rubio's campaign here in Minnesota, where Marco won. He has a tremendous amount of experience in politics. I love, in fact, the saying, don't get angry, don't get frustrated, get a plan.
Right.
So How is this going to enable us to win? We've seen so many cycles of failures where we think, oh, we've got this one in the bag. Can we win?
Yes, we can win. In fact, we should be winning already. It's not so much that we're being beaten in the races, we're beating ourselves in the races. But we have two huge strengths. First, we already have the numbers to win. And again, and people are going, wait, then why didn't we win? Well, I'll explain that in a little bit when we start talking about market segments. But we already have the numbers. And the second thing is, and this is huge, as a marketer in particular, I love this, we have the issues. In poll after poll after poll, if you go issue by issue, it is the conservative position that is favored by the majority of Minnesotans and Americans for that matter. And it's a big majority. Paul, Minnesota is a quirky place when it comes to how we run our elections, right? You've explained all of this to me.
The easiest way to say that is campaign finance laws. And the word campaign is in campaign finance laws for a reason. Minnesota restricts the amount of money in campaigns greatly. What that means is that in order to make an impact in a race in Minnesota, outside money coming in can make a big difference. You mentioned earlier that the Democrats do things right. They do this right. They come in with outside money. They have PACs. They have organizations that get money to candidates and, in fact, campaigns. They have the teachers' unions. They have the state workers' unions. They have liberal Democrat millionaires that donate. And they have the vehicles built to get that to the campaigns legally and affect races. Where does that leave the Republicans? Where that leaves the Republicans is we used to rely on big donors. We had a lot of great big donors in the state of Minnesota, and the lack of success in the last few cycles has scared them away.
I'm amazed they stuck in as long as they did.
Yeah, and I am too, but what that does is it pushes the responsibility to the smaller donors, and the smaller donors can make a difference. But the only way a small donor can make a difference is if they're aggregated, because as I'll talk about a little bit later on, I think we want to get into this about what do we do with Sidecar in the operational side of it. It's when the money comes in that's as important as how much.
Chris, let me boil that down a little bit in terms of what do we actually have to do to win. Let me make this a little practical. Yeah. Paul made the point about the transition of the big donors dropping out, right? And that's obviously a critical force. Yeah, right. Well, they're gone. They may come back someday, but they're gone. There is no cavalry coming. If we want to build the capabilities that are necessary to win, we have to do it. Yeah. Well, the big donors are gone. Who's we? We is the little guy. It's the average Joe and Jane on the street, and the average Joe and Jane conservative on the street, right? And we have to pull together. We have to aggregate ourselves. That's the term I use. We have to pull together, and we have to build the indefatigable, the unbeatable force that brings the focus of the entire conservative body in Minnesota into action.
That's why I like this, to be led by people who understand business and who aren't in this to make money. They're in this to win. And I love this. That's why we brought you here. So
I'll bet you've heard this 1,000 times at various get-togethers, right? What can I do?
Yeah, no, I totally hear that. And these people want to get involved, but they thought they were by themselves, right? And then they found, you talk about aggregation. I mean, we just came together with 15 people, grew to 14,000 people. Yeah. And we've had, events, people get married. I mean, we've had a pretty good run. But you know what? Maybe it's time now to coalesce that and to focus it. I mean, you talk about boots on the ground. These people want to do things. They want to help.
Yeah. Well, and if we're aggregated together, they can. Yeah. That's the key thing. Each of us alone can do nothing. But if we aggregate together, there's nothing we can't do.
You said we can win. You said confidently we can win. Take us through how you break this down. What specifics? As a marketer, as what you know, how does that play and how can that be explained?
Okay, so how does a marketer look at the world? They look at it in terms of segments. Right. So the first segment, the closest in segment, because that's the easiest one to get to, the one that's already ours, really, is registered Republicans. Uh-huh. In the last election, 250,000 Republicans did not vote.
In Minnesota?
In Minnesota.
Registered Republicans.
Now let me put this in perspective. Had they voted, we would have won the governor's race, we'd have won the Secretary of State, We would have won the Attorney General, because that segment gives us an indicated action.
Right.
It tells us what to do. Well, what it tells us is 250,000 of our fellow Republicans need their hand held a little bit to get their ballot into the box.
Right.
And it's legal to do this in Minnesota. It's called a lot of things, but ballot chasing is probably the best term. That's enough to turn us into a red state by a little bit. Second segment is unregistered conservatives. We have no idea how many are out there because they're not registered, but
Right. Well, that's what we saw in 2016. We saw them.
Right.
They had never voted, a lot of these people.
Trump showed us that there's a lot of them, right? So what do we have to do? Well, it's the same kind of thing. It's a different indicated action, but it's an indicated action. We have to get out and get these guys registered. Right. We have to find them, which, by the way, we know how to do. It's a marketing challenge. It's a database marketing challenge. We know how to do that. Two different segments, two different indicated actions. Now let's come down to the independents. You were talking about what do we do to get those guys? And we hinted at it a little bit earlier. First of all, the independent block alone is about a little over 500,000 votes. Wow. So remember, 250 from Republicans gets us over the top. What do we do what happens when we turn those other 500,000 into Republicans? By changing the attitudes and then changing the behavior. Okay, we have a red state at that point. Okay, so how do we do it? Well, we do it with maybe the thing that we are the worst at right now, which is messaging. I'm talking about all Republicans. I'm not talking about Minnesota Republicans. As a marketer, I've been looking at this for decades going, what are they saying? I want to bring up a point that Paul brought up earlier. In practical terms, you can't go tell a candidate what to say. But if we have PACs set up outside of the party, outside of the candidates, we can talk about conservatism the way it needs to be talked about. And now we're in an exercise of brand building. Because right now the conservative brand, the Republican brand, we can't brand the Republicans because we're not part of the Republicans.
Right.
But we can brand conservatism based on what it is and what it delivers. And we can rebrand it such that people realize those are my priorities. Just like the polls say, we change the attitude because we get them to say, those are my priorities. All we have to do is talk about it properly. When we talk about a particular issue, we have to explain the conservative position, explain what's in it for everybody, which conservatives never do. 3 different segments. We go after them with 3 different sets of tactics. A lot of boots in the ground, a lot of chances to say, what can I do? A lot of answers to what can I do to help, right? But also a chance to do some sophisticated rebranding so that the principles that people already believe in, that they already buy into, get associated with the candidates that actually support them. Aggregation is the key to the whole thing, right? It is us coming together and creating one force that we can direct into the market. So aggregation is everything.
You can unite with the Sidecar aggregation in Minnesota and beyond. Visit our website, mnsidecar.com. The link is in the description section of this video. When on our website, follow us, or better yet, click on Join. You're on the way to the Sidecar aggregation. Then, amplify the Sidecar message. Watch Sidecar videos on our YouTube channel and click on Like. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and be notified when new videos arrive for viewing. Click on Share and send the link to family, friends, neighbors, and even adversaries. Minnesota Sidecar, the muscular vehicle for the conservative movement.